Welcome, everybody, to a special episode of the effing title. This is number 219, and I am here today with my good friend, Rob. Hi, Rob.
What's going on?
And as you guys can see from right here, and if you can't see, there's an image on the screen. We're going to be talking about the UFL today, because the UFL starts up March 30th, and me and Rob have been following this and actually been kind of excited about this.
Yeah.
So we kind of got heavy into the XFL last year, and then when the XFL ended, we kind of got into the USFL. I wouldn't say we did as much as the XFL though. So one of the
I
things
did not.
I was gonna say, we kind of watched we watched towards the end of the season and then like the playoffs, and that was really it for the USFL.
Playoffs.
Yeah. But the biggest thing for us was that we did talk about it throughout the season. For the XFL about the potential of a future merger and how it would be better for everybody if they just did and they just merged the leagues. And then fast forward 9 months, 6 months, however long it was, then they're like, hey, this is happening. So here we are.
About time.
Right? What is your thoughts and hopes going into this right now?
Well, I mean, the obvious answer is that it survives more than one season.
Yep.
But at the same time, I just hope it's now that there's only one league that the quality of football is better, because truthfully, the only way it can survive is if it is considered a better football product, not emotional or entertainment value, but better football product than college football.
Yes.
But it's not going to obviously be the NFL. But if it's better or close to college football, then it will survive. If it's on the same par as all the other leagues have been, then it's only going to be a couple years and then done.
Mm-hmm. And I think we have a good chance to keep this one going. I want to see. I like seeing the potential of some of these guys. There's a lot of these guys that we know just from playing Madden and using some of the lower rated players. So we know a lot of these guys, and even some of these guys were just studs in college that just didn't make it in the pros.
Yeah.
So I would love to see some of these guys, be able to do a thing or two in the pros. That's my thing. Eventually get back to the pros, or even even if they weren't there, right? But so looking at the schedule, right? So the schedule, kind of a cool schedule. There's 8 teams, and each team will be playing in conference twice, out of conference once. 10 weeks, and then there's the playoffs. Playoffs is best 2 teams from each division, or best team from each division, and then the next best 2 teams. So you could have 3 teams from the USFL, you could have 3 teams from the XFL.
Yeah, it's a nice setup.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it last year with the XFL. My team didn't make it through. The Battlehawks didn't make it through, but they were better than most of the other teams on the other in the other conference. So it's nice having it be so it is best 2, and then no matter what, the next best. I think that's solid. Matchups look good across the board right now. I'm excited.
Mm-hmm.
To see how it all plays out. It's not like as well. It doesn't look like anyway. It looks like there's a couple weeks in between each game as well, like teams that play twice. Nope, right. Yep, right there. There's 2. Yep. So it looks like there's at least 2 weeks in between, which is nice. So it's not just like play them once, then there's another team, then play them again. That's nice to see. But new league equals new rules. So there are the new rules for the UFL. There is one rule, Rob, that I know that you will like. Okay? I'm going to say that right now. Kickoffs and other kicking and touchback rules. This is the rule that you will like. Kickoffs will look like more traditional college and NFL kickoffs, but would take place from the 20-yard line of the kicking team. A kickoff out of bounds would give possession to the receiving team 30 yards from the spot of the kickoff or at the spot where the ball went out of bounds. So they're not doing the XFL where they were all lined up at the 20, and then as soon as they catch it, then they can go. None of that. It's just kickoffs, baby.
Mm-hmm. Which is how it should be.
A kickoff that is untouched by the receiving team may only be recovered by the kicking team up to 20 yards from the spot of the kick. A little bit different from the pros. Pros is 10, isn't it?
Yeah.
The NFL. All touchbacks on kicks, punts, or kickoffs will be placed at the receiving team's 25-yard line. That's kind of standard. Any punt that goes out of bounds inside the receiving team's 25 will be considered a touchback. And placed at the 25-yard line. Non-kicking touchbacks will also be placed at the 25-yard line. So that's kind of an interesting one. Right there. So no more coffin corners. I'm not sure how I feel about that. Like, I'm fine. As much as I liked the XFL's kickoff, I understand the reasoning behind going to the more traditional look. I understand the reasoning for it. The punt, though, I don't know about that. That seems different.
Well, it forces again. The big part of it is it creates more excitement because now teams, if you're on the other team's 40-yard line and your punter isn't that good or your punt team's not very good at pinning them, then why not just go for it?
Fair.
It's only 15 yards, like that's the enticing part about it. It's the same thing with the kickoff team and it being 20 yards. I know you're going to probably get to this rule in a second, but the onside kick rule, or the other possession, you know what I mean? Like,
yes.
That's enticing them because it's a lot harder to recover an onside kick if it's got to go 20 yards.
Or at least,
so
I'm wondering if it's going to be brought up because right now this is kickoffs and other kicking and touchback rules. So really, the onside going for it I would have thought would have been here, but we'll see on the next one.
Alternate possession option.
Oh, okay, well, next one for me is replay reviews and coach challenges. So, yeah,
it is on here. So if you want me to read it, I can read that.
Oh well, let's see here. Alternate possession option? There we go. Let me make sure. Okay, boom. While onside kicks are allowed at any time during the game, teams will have an alternative option to retain possession in the fourth quarter. If a team is tied or behind during the fourth quarter, it may elect to retain possession after a score with a 4th and 12 from its own 28-yard line. Kind of like that. So basically it's saying, at least the way that I'm reading this, right, you can tell me if I'm wrong, is you can go for an onside kick, or you can go for 4th and 12.
Only during the fourth quarter if you're tied or behind.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that because I feel like there will be some teams and some coaches that are old school and like, no, we're going to go onside, or, like that sort of thing.
I mean, it'd be dumb if they do that.
Yes, because the 4th and 12 thing I think is good. For the 28-yard line as well, that's massive. So then we get to replay reviews and coach calls. This one will be interesting to read through. Designated members of the officiating department may stop a game at any time before the ball is next legally put into play to review a play if the next play is reviewable. There's reasonable evidence to believe an error was made in the initial ruling, and it would have a direct competitive impact on the game. So it sounds like it's the same as the XFL, where they just straight up are like, nope, stop. We're going to go look at this. That's what it sounds like.
Yeah.
Which I genuinely felt there was a lot of times where that didn't slow the game down, and when they did it at good times as well. That's the other thing. It didn't feel like the game was very stop-start with it.
They did it when it was really when they did it was, did he fumble or was it a catch?
Yes. That's
really all. Or was his arm going forward on? Like, that's the only times they ever did it. It was never like
they were holding. Let's take a look.
And even there, like, it was really like obvious ones where you're like, they're not gonna look at that, and then they look at it.
Yeah. These reviews will be made from a secure location separate from the site of the game. Any call or non-call related to player safety is also subject to review at any point during the game, as well as any officiating ruling in the last 5 minutes of the fourth quarter or overtime that is obviously incorrect and will have a significant impact on the outcome of the game. So, yes, this is going to be, I forgot who it was. Was it Blandino for the XFL.
Mhm.
Blandino out in California just watching the games in his swordfish
New York.
room with
New
all the
York.
monitors.
New York.
New York, there we go. With his swordfish wall of monitors, right? Just sitting there watching it, just... I see everything. I like it. I think this is the rule that the NFL should actually use, in all honesty. Along with the next one, I do believe, if this is the same ruling. Let's take a look. Each coach may challenge any ruling, including fouls or potential fouls, one time during the course of a contest, provided the team has a timeout remaining. A successful challenge will not result in a loss of a timeout, while the timeout is lost if the challenge is unsuccessful. This is the one that I also believe, like, all these rules I think should be put in the NFL. I think we had the same thought last year as well.
Yes.
The big thing with this, and for people at home listening, is when we say each coach may challenge any ruling, literally you have to be very specific with it. That was the big thing. So if it was a defensive holding, and you challenge defensive pass interference, and it shows that they were holding them, that's not DPI. Therefore, you don't win. So that you have to be very specific with what you call, and I really liked that aspect of it. You know, you could throw a flag and be like, "There's holding on 77." All right, let's take a look.
Yes. It was cool.
It made it really unique too, because you had coaches that would say like, "I'm challenging this," and then they would come back and be like, "The challenge was for this. However, that was not what happened. This is what happened. It was still a penalty, but guess what? You didn't challenge the right penalties. Therefore, first down."
Well, the refs wouldn't say that. Dean Blandino would say that upstairs. The refs would just say...
Yeah, the refs would just say, it was unsuccessful, and Dean would be like, yeah, what they challenged was this, and it was this. So, tough cookies. Catch definition and defensive pass interference. Are you ready for this bag of worms?
Actually, they do a pretty good job of making it easy.
A completed catch or interception is defined as a player securing control of the ball prior to the ball touching the ground, and touching the ground inbound with both feet or with any part of his body other than his hands. Solid definition. Also, for this season, in the XFL last year, it was 1 foot inbounds. This year, they are going to 2. Which I think is, that's fine. Right? If we're trying to get guys transitioning from college to pros and, like, getting ready for the pros, I like the idea of 2 versus 1.
Yeah.
Defensive pass interference will result in a 15-yard penalty or spot foul if the foul occurred less than 15 yards downfield. Intentional defensive pass interference will result in a spot foul if it is beyond 15 yards downfield. So what is, Raw, what is the difference between intentional defensive pass interference and just defensive pass interference?
Like, what is their definition of it?
Yeah, I was going to say, what do you think their definition is? Because right now, we just see defensive pass interference and then intentional defensive pass interference.
Intentional is going to be like, you're burnt deep and you tackle the guy. All they have, like, take fouls.
Yeah.
Or, like, it's going to be a dunk, but the dude just, like, wraps his arms around the guy.
Yeah, just boom, there it is. You get the ball right where it happened. Done. Overtime! You ready for overtime, Rob? You ready?
Yeah, like it says here, intentional defensive pass interference is beyond 15 yards most of the time. Like,
yeah. Overtime will consist of alternating attempts to score from the opponent's 5-yard line with no kicks being allowed. It will be a best-of-3 format or until a winner has been determined.
it sounds like they pretty much just went with all the XFL rules.
Yes, there was a lot of the XFL rules that they went with. I love this. Best of 3, just getting after it. Which is also interesting because you have points after touchdowns. So this is where there's no kick after because there's points after. Teams have 3 scrimmage plays, run pass, options following a touchdown. You can either go for 1 from the 2-yard line, 2 from the 5-yard line, and 3 from the 10-yard line. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Weren't those distance more last year, or am I thinking that they were?
Say that again. Sorry.
So after you score, right, you can go 1 point from the 2-yard line, 2 points from the 5-yard line, and 3 points from the 10-yard line.
Yeah, that's what it was last year.
Was okay because for some reason I had it in my head that 3 points was like from the 15. I had some weird.
Trust me, Seattle did it every time.
Yeah, they did. Good old June Jones out there ripping it. So this is going to make overtime even more interesting because now in overtime you have that thing of like, okay, you score, boom, there's 6. Now what are you going to do? Because it's either 7, 8, or 9, or 6, 7, 8, 9, right? So like no matter like the point and coaching kind of chess match, I think is going to be really interesting.
It depends. Most of these people do just base everything off analytics. So they're not going to actually even look at it like that.
That's fair.
I wish it was what you said and it would be a chess match. It won't be. It's going to be, what does the book say?
Yeah, because I was going to say, like, it would be, like, imagine you go out, you're the first team, you score, you go for 3. Immediately, it's like, I'm going to go for 1. Just imagine the other coach, I'm going to go for 1. It's like, what's that dude doing over there?
Seattle and DC did.
Yeah.
The first time they played, and DC got all theirs and won the game by a point.
It's wild. I like it. I like this. I don't think the NFL should take this. This is a rule I specifically do not think the NFL should take. I like the way the NFL does it. Kick a field goal or go for 2. Boom. Right? 2 forward passes. Teams will be allowed, as they were in both leagues last season, to throw 2 forward passes on 1 play. The ball cannot cross the line of scrimmage at any time prior to the second forward pass being thrown. I have to agree with Rob. I hate this. I hate this. This is
It's stupid.
It's adding a rule that doesn't need to be there for quote unquote the excitement and the big play thing. But how many times did we actually see teams do this? What, maybe once? And most of the time it wasn't anything, like it wasn't caught or anything.
I get what the point of it is. It's so that you don't have to practice doing like your double passes and double reverses as much to be good at them. Because you don't have to worry about was the pass forward, was the pass backward, but it's dumb.
Yes, I mean, I agree. I agree with them. So, but those are the rules, though. Overall, I like the rules. I think the rules are solid for the UFL. I don't really feel like any of them should be changed. Right? The only one, like we said, is 2 forward pass is kind of the main one. That's kind of but yes, that's how the rules look though for us. So moving on now, we will be looking at the teams, and let's take a look at the teams and the rosters, and we'll get into that next. So now looking at the teams, here are the conferences. We got Conference USFL and Conference XFL. I kind of like that they did this. I don't know about you, Rob, but I like that they did the two different organizations, right, as conferences. I thought that was kind of fun.
It's cool for a year.
Yeah. So we have Birmingham Stallions, the Memphis Showboats, the Michigan Panthers, and the Houston Roughnecks in the USFL. And in the XFL, we have the Arlington Renegades, the St. Louis Battlehawks, the San Antonio Brahmas, and the DC Defenders. So these are the teams that made it through, and these are the teams that we have. So now we're going to take a look at the rosters. And this is how the rosters look online. So we're going to start with the Stallions. So we're just going to give you some of the names that we know off rip, and then we'll go from there. Obviously, we wish we could give you a little bit more, but this is what we got. So, Chris Blewett, the kicker from Pittsburgh, started off strong.
Good kicker.
Bubba Bowden, corner from Miami. I know him as a safety more than a corner, but still a solid player. Victor Bowden Jr., and one of the boys from Oregon State, Oregon State always has a good history of getting smaller, kind of shifty receivers. I guess we can word it like that. Slade Bowden, wide receiver from Alabama. Deion Kane, wide receiver from Clemson. Some solid guys right there. Then you got like T.J. Carter, safety from TCU. Carlos Davis, a nose tackle from Nebraska. Nebraska always having average to above average defensive tackles, I would say. Then we get to Trayvon Howard, inside linebacker from TCU. Gary Jennings, the wide receiver from West Virginia. I don't remember if this is the same Gary Jennings that St. Louis had last year or not. So that'll be an interesting one. Adrian Martinez is the first quarterback we see on the list from Kansas State, a quarterback. Hercules Mataafa, the DN from Washington State. He's bounced around the NFL for how many years, Rob? 4 or 5, maybe?
Who, Hercules?
Yeah, Hercules.
He played during his rookie contract, and then he's bounced around these leagues a lot.
Yeah.
Kind of like Scooby Wright.
Mm-hmm. Scooby's another one. Then we start getting into some names here. Jalen Morton, the quarterback from Prairie View A&M. Chris Orr, inside linebacker from Wisconsin. Larry Roundtree, the third running back from Missouri. And then we get to the one that a lot of people out here you should know. Bo Scarborough, the running back from Alabama. Jamar Smith, quarterback from Louisiana Tech. Jay Sternberger, the tight end from Texas A&M. And then Scooby Wright. So, already off rip, first team we look at, pretty solid roster, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason they're the champs.
The defending.
Champ in that
Two-time defending. Undisputed.
Makes sense, you know.
For everyone out there that also doesn't know, this is Rob's team. So, yeah. Now we go to the Houston Roughnecks. Interesting enough,
they run the ball a lot.
Yes. Interesting enough, the Houston Roughnecks are actually the Houston Gamblers roster from last year and coaching staff from last year. But they're using the Roughnecks name. So I thought that was also an interesting one. But then I guess they don't want a team named the Gamblers. That's what I'm getting at, I'm supposing. I don't know.
I guess.
Braden Bowman, tight end from South Alabama, is the first name on here that I know of. Let's see here. Where are we at? Reuben Foster. There's a name for everyone. First round draft pick. Linebacker from Alabama. Ryan Izzo. Am I just thinking of Izzo as in like Patriots ode? Yeah, I was gonna say.
Larry Izzo. It is his. I don't know. I think brother.
Oh,
or
okay.
Cousin or something.
All right. I'm gonna say this right now. Not looking great for me knowing this Houston team. I don't know about you.
Yeah.
Robert Myers, the guard from Tennessee State. Robert Myers, the name sounds familiar. I was going to say, outside of that, though, yeah, this roster is Ethan Westbrook's the D-tackle from West Texas A&M, and Isaiah Zuber, wide receiver from Kansas State. Those two I know. So outside of that, though, yeah, this is a roster that I genuinely don't know a lot of. Also, I think I've read any really read any quarterbacks. We have Garrett Gaetano, quarterback from Washington State. We have Nolan Henderson, the quarterback from Delaware State. And is that it for quarterbacks on their roster? Nope, we got Reed Sinnett, the quarterback from San Diego. So, it'll be interesting to see.
Who's their head coach?
Theirs? Do I have a coaching thing on here? I do not have a coaching thing on here, so I would have to look that up on a separate thing.
That's not the Wade Phillips team, is it?
It might be the Wade Phillips team, actually, now that you say that. Yeah, this might be the Wade Phillips team. That's one that you might have to look up for us.
I'll have to take a peek.
But yeah, no, Roughnecks, like I said, interesting roster. Not a whole lot of names that we know between the two of us. So, But then we go to the Memphis Showboats. This team, if I remember correctly, great name, great history, right? Not the best of seasons last year, if I remember correctly. Jonathan Adams, wide receiver from Arkansas State. Jordan Brailford.
I want to say their head coach was the dude who got run out of
Pittsburgh.
Yep. Who's the OC that got run out of Pittsburgh?
Yep. God. But yes, it was him. It was the OC that got ran out of Pittsburgh for the Steelers. Jordan Brailford, outside linebacker from Oklahoma State. Antoine Brooks, the corner from Maryland. Case Cookus, first biggish name there, right? Quarterback from Northern Texas. Looking down here, TJ Green, safety from Clemson. Cole Kelly, the quarterback from Southeastern Louisiana. Alex, here's one for you because this is just one that me and Rob would know. Alex Lindstrom, the center from Boston College.
So what's funny is he's in this league and his twin brother is the starting guard for the Falcons.
Yeah.
And an all-pro player.
Just dominating there, yeah.
Someone got better genetics, I guess.
Daylon Mack, the nose tackle from North Texas A&M. That's one that I know because he was on the Ravens practice squad for a little bit. Dylan Moses, inside linebacker for Alabama. One of the backers that didn't get to make it into the NFL, really.
He didn't play.
Yeah, it just kind of I like him. It kind of sucks. And then Troy Williams, the quarterback from Utah. Also, Kareth White, running back from Florida Atlantic. That sounds familiar, and I don't know why. Am I thinking of the running back for the Raiders when I say that? Oh, I'm thinking of that, I should say.
Yeah, I really don't know.
I'm not sure either.
For some reason, that's the dude from Florida International is who you're thinking of.
Oh, okay, maybe that's what it is.
Because Florida International is where... I don't know.
But then also,
I'm trying to put it together.
And then I forgot Wes Saxton Jr. We both know Wes Saxton Jr. So, now to the Michigan Panthers. Another one of the solid teams that have always done really well in this in the USFL side of the league. Adonis Alexander, safety from Va Tech. Then we have T.J. Carter, D-tackle from Kentucky. Matthew Colburn II, running back from Wake Forest. Noah Dawkins, fast linebacker from Citadel. Danny Etling. Good old Danny.
Quarterback.
Good old Danny Etling is in here.
Patriot.
Then we go Brian Lewerke?
Hey, Danny Etling played with Tom Brady, okay?
Yeah, he did. Shalom Luani, strong safety from Washington State. Let's see here. There are some other ones here that I do. Samson Nakua, wide receiver from BYU, and Kai Nakua, free safety from BYU. No idea if it's part of the same Nakuas as in Puka. That's kind of crazy. So there you go. We got a bunch of Nakuas on this.
They all went to the same school.
Oh, there we go. And then we also have Okafor and Okafor, but either they're spelled differently or someone on here messed up. One of the two. Desmond Patton, wide receiver from Washington State. E.J. Perry, Rob, quarterback from Brown, on the roster.
Yeah, he's actually pretty good.
I think, if I remember correctly, he's the guy for them. Like, he's the dude. So that's kind of good to see a Brown quarterback doing some work.
I don't know if you can say that.
Braylon Speaks, the D-end from Mississippi. He's been a stud in the USFL. So that's good to see. So that's the Michigan team. So far, it looks like I would say that the Birmingham's team obviously is leaps and bounds above everyone else. I think we both can agree with that statement, right? that is the team to beat right now. Is this Birmingham team? So,
Yeah, definitely.
um,
Birmingham's team is
just
light year on paper much better.
yes. So now that's the USFL side of it. Now we're going to look at the XFL side of it. So first up, with the XFL, we're going to get into looking at the Renegades. So with this side of things, we're going to know more of the names probably because we followed the XFL a little bit more than we did the USFL. So, with that being said, though, the Arlington Renegades, solid little roster here. We're starting off with Vic Beasley, the DN from Clemson.
Yeah, it's a pretty good name.
Yeah, straight off the rip. And then we go Will Clark, the D-tack from West Virginia.
No, not as big of a name.
Jamal Carter, safety from the U. Then we go down to, let's see here, some names that we know. Morgan Ellison, running back from Southeastern Louisiana. Calvin Jackson Jr., wide receiver from Washington State. Marquette King, the punter from Fort Valley State. What, honestly, that's one of the big names that's a shocking to me one. He had a great freaking year, and then the next thing you know is he's just gone. And now he's been bouncing around these leagues.
He didn't have a great year, though.
Not 1 year that he, popped off?
He can kick the ball really far. He's really bad at pinning people. Like, this league's going to be great for him because he's never going to be asked to pin anybody.
Yeah. That's fair.
He's just going to be asked to give it a boot, And in the NFL, you need hang time, you need accuracy, you need to be able to kick based off of what your coverage is. You got to be able to kick in different weather. But there's so many little things in the NFL that people don't think about, but it's a whole different world.
That's fair. That's fair. Would you say that he would be giving it the boot Sieg?
Oh, he will be, yes.
Okay. I'm going to rip off all three quarterbacks here because I just see them, even though they're not in a row. Luis Perez, quarterback from Texas A&M Commerce. Then you have Drew Plitt, quarterback from Ball State. And then you have Lindsey Scott, quarterback from Incarnate Word. For a spring league, solid quarterback room.
Yeah, it is. They've all got a lot of playing time, too. That's the crazy part is they've actually all played.
Christian Sam.
How many of these teams would go through that you're like, I've never heard of that guy. I don't think he's ever played before.
Yeah, right. This one actually has like three guys that are known. Christian Sam, a linebacker from Arizona State. Tuz Skipper, linebacker from Toledo. Jamar Summers, the corner from Connecticut.
You forgot Jared Maiden, the corner from Alabama.
Oh, right, Jared Maiden. Yeah, for some reason the name was like sticking out to me, and I was like, I don't know why it is, but
I coached that kid. I coached that kid at a USA football camp.
See, there you go.
Kids flipping good.
Kids flipping good. And then you have possibly the best catch of the entire season last year coming from LeJuan Winningham, the wide receiver from Central Arkansas. Kid was a stud last year. This team overall is one of those teams where it's like you look at it on paper and it's like, okay, there's some names here, there's some things here, but then you watch them play and it's a completely different thing. Like, it's just, this team is just scary play. Like, not even scary playing. They're just good. They just play good, solid football.
I mean, they won the whole damn thing, didn't they?
Yep.
They and they were like 500. They're one of those teams that it takes them a while, but eventually they figure it out. Is it Stoops? Is this?
Yep, this is Stoops' team. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So I mean that right there.
It's just a solid team,
And then now we're going to the DC Defenders, which may be the most stacked team in the entire UFL. DeAndre Baker, corner from Georgia. TJ Barnes, D-tackle from Georgia Tech. David Bellamy, the D-end from Georgia. Adonis Boone, the OT from Louisville. Kentrell Price, the safety from Louisiana Tech. Garyon Conley, the corner from Ohio State. And, the names are just going to keep coming. DeAndre Francois, quarterback from Hampton.
Yeah, they have a lot of big-name people that most of them busted at some point. Like that's the crazy part.
Lamont Galliard, the center from Georgia. Kelvin Harmon, wide receiver from North Carolina State.
I mean, the thing with them is their secondary. Where's they have like a whole NFL former
Yeah.
NFL secondary.
Jalen McClendon, quarterback, Baylor. Dijon Neal, corner, Shepherd. Reggie Northrup II, linebacker from Florida State.
DJ Swearinger.
DJ Swearinger. They have him as a corner, but he's not a corner. That dude's a safety, and he just hurts people. From South Carolina, he just comes downhill and just bam.
Don't forget about your boy Boogie Roberts.
Oh yeah, good old Boogie Roberts, the D-tackle from San Jose State, and then we ended up with Tim Ward, the DN from Old Dominion, Puka Williams, the running back from Kansas, and Preston Williams, the wide receiver from Colorado State. The name that is not on here, that should be on here, that isn't, is Jordan Ta'amu. Jordan Ta'amu is their quarterback, and Jordan Ta'amu is a stud. The other one that I didn't think I read, that I should have read, is the running back that they had.
Yeah, they right now they only have Puka Williams. They don't have the other guy signed yet.
Okay, so they had their running back from last year and Ta'amu are supposed to be back. That is one that we do know. So, but on paper, like Rob said, their secondary is an NFL secondary. All the guys have actual NFL experience.
Former NFL secondary.
Yes, they all have.
They can't play there right now.
Yeah, no. So kind of crazy, but solid for this league. Then you go to the San Antonio Brahmas. Now this is one that we have joked about for ages because it's the Brahmas and it's Dwayne and the Brahma Bowl, and we always kind of joked about how this team was a joke, and it was a joke in the first year. Now coming into this year, they've added some pieces.
Yeah, they weren't a joke in the first year. They were a joke in the first half of the season.
Yes. Then they started figuring it out.
All of a sudden, Heinz Ward's team figured it out, you know?
Landon Akers, wide receiver from Iowa State. Starting off strong right there. KD Cannon, wide receiver from Baylor. Quentin Dormandy, who was a quarterback that I really liked in the XFL last year, getting a shot here with the Brahmas to be their guy, quarterback from Central Michigan. Tom Flacco, he will be fighting against from Towson. That is the younger brother of Joe Flacco. Chase Garbers, quarterback from Cal. Joel Ibanwi, inside linebacker from West Kentucky. I think that's the best that I might ever try to pronounce that, so I'm just gonna leave it there. Another name that is a big favorite of mine is Cody Lattimore, the tight end from Indiana. Bust as a wide receiver, put on some weight, and he's been playing pretty well as a tight end since. Surprising one here is the Anthony McFarland Jr., the running back from Maryland.
Why is that surprising?
Just the fact that I thought unanimously everyone thought he was going to do something in the NFL. Didn't see the field, and now he's here. And I think he could do something here, and then go back to the NFL maybe. We'll find out.
I think a lot of people. There are a lot of kids nowadays, especially with the NIL, that might look at this as a better opportunity to. Like they made a lot of money in college, so it's not like they're desperate for money. Then they're looking for a chance to play and prove themselves sometimes, you know?
Fair. Walt Ray, outside linebacker from Boston College. Marquez Stevenson, wide receiver from Houston. Tez Tabor, DB from Florida. That's another old NFL guy right there. T.J. Vasher and Jordan Veasley, wide receivers from Texas Tech and California, respectively. Two more really good names right there. Jordan Williams, the inside linebacker from Baylor. He was a stud last season. And then Quincy Wilson, the DB from Florida. So yet again, another team, a lot of decent names here. There's some names that I even forgot. But a lot of, another pretty solid roster. Each roster is pretty solid, which is the best part. And then we get to the final team, and of course I'm going to do this because it is my team. Welcome back, AJ. AJ McCarron requested his release from the Cincinnati Bengals, and he is officially back with the Battlehawks, moving us into the final team of this whole thing, the St. Louis Battlehawks, which on paper is another scary team this season now. Putting all the teams together and then being able to just go out and draft people and get people from other leagues, from the other teams, I think made this team a lot better. Obviously, it made all the teams better, but I think Battlehawks got better. Freedom Akin Molandon, the DN from Nebraska. Vandal Alexander, guard from Louisiana State. Marcel Aitman is back, wide receiver from Oklahoma State. Abdul Beecham, the guard from Kansas State.
He's related to Kelvin Beecham.
Boom. Juwan Bushel Beatty, offensive tackle from Michigan. Hakeem Butler, wide receiver from Iowa State, one of my favorite players in the entire league. Ben DeLuca, DB from Charlotte. Travis Feeney, outside linebacker from Washington. I was just as linebacker, but outside linebacker. Wayne Gellman, running back from Clemson. That name should sound familiar to some people if you guys know football. He was a running back for the Giants and got a shot and kind of did a thing for a quick second and then just kind of vanished.
Some of you may also know him as Wayne Gallman, but whatever.
Yeah. Sometimes I say names different. Rob doesn't like it. Steven Gonzalez, guard from Penn State. Willie Harvey, linebacker from Iowa State. Blake Jackson, Mary Hardin Jr. wide receiver. Guy gave us fits last year because he was on the Sea Dragons. Gave us fits. Now he's on our team to give other teams fits. Mike Pansiak, center from Michigan State, one of the best linemen in the entire league last year. Ja'Cour Pearson, wide receiver from Mississippi, also another guy from the Sea Dragons. I keep saying Battlehawks.
Led the XFL in receiving yards.
Mm-hmm. And now he's going to a team that's going to be throwing the ball around the yard and is now here. And has AJ McCarron to throw him the ball. Darius Shepard, wide receiver from North Dakota State, another good name in this. Brandon Silvers, quarterback from Troy. I don't know if I told you that one, Rob, or not. We got Brandon Silvers as the backup now to AJ. Jake.
Someone's getting cut.
Yeah. Yeah, probably Manny Wilkins. Jake Sutherland, tight end from Morehead State. Pita Tuamapenu, linebacker from Utah, was the defensive player of the year for the XFL last year. Dallas Warmack, guard for the Oregon. I always get excited and say that name, and then realize it's not the same Warmack that I know.
Not Chance Warmack.
It's not Chance, it's Dallas. I always get those two mixed up. But yet again, another solid roster on this. In my opinion, I think that DC and St. Louis have the strongest. DC, St. Louis, and Birmingham are the three strongest rosters in the entire UFL. But we'll find out more March 30th when everything kicks off. But those are the teams, those are the rosters. But now we want to do something a little different. We're going to look at some other stuff now. So obviously, with the leagues merging, that means that some of the teams did not make it, unfortunately. And with those teams, we have the Vegas Vipers, the St. Louis Sea Dragons, and the Orlando Guardians for the XFL. And out of all three of those, honestly, the Seattle Sea Dragons was the big one that didn't make it.
Yeah, they were. It was surprising that they didn't make it and San Antonio did.
Yes.
When you look at the fan base numbers and things like that and the revenue piece of it. But then the more you dive into it, the more it does make sense as far as traveling, sites and all that stuff. I mean, they played at a soccer stadium and things like that. So it does make sense in the long run, but it was just shocking that they didn't make it. As far as Orlando, they can go pound sand.
Mm-hmm. And the Vegas Vipers played on a semi-pro, that was the most embarrassing thing ever. So that's fine. For the USFL, The teams that didn't make it were the Philadelphia Stars, the New Jersey Generals, the New Orleans Breakers, the Pittsburgh Maulers, and here we have the Tampa Bay Bandits, which technically they didn't exist in last year's USFL. They became the Memphis Showboats, but still didn't make it. So out of these ones, I mean, honestly, I'm kind of surprised. Not really surprised either way with any of these not making it. Because like no matter what, one of those teams didn't have to make. One of them had to leave, right? Because the Gamblers technically left, but they're also the Roughnecks now. So it's like,
I was very surprised the Philadelphia Stars didn't, because the Stars were one of the originals.
Mm-hmm.
Remember?
Yep.
And not only were they one of the originals, they
did well.
They came in, they made the playoffs the 2 years that it existed. Like, they were one of the better teams, and they had a fan base. Like,
it's a solid location for a team in Philadelphia.
Again, if they're trying to project like this is where they're not going to be because of basketball and all the other sports, yeah, I guess I could understand it. But then at the same time, you look at some of these other teams, and you're like, well, they've got all these other sports, like. So
yeah,
it's different. It's weird, but I that's the only one that surprised me. The others,
yeah, the Breakers were a cool team, but they never really could really show anything. It felt like the Generals were just there. Pittsburgh.
The Generals were just there because they needed a team in that area.
Yeah, the Pittsburgh Maulers were solid for what they were, but
horrendous.
And then now we're going to throw it back. We're going to keep going back. So these are the teams that didn't make it into the XFL, but now we're going to talk a little bit about the potential future and expansion aspect of it. So all these teams we just announced could come back. That's the kind of the cool thing, and I think both you and me agree with this. These are easily the first teams that could come back. Everything's already done, marketing, team name, jerseys, color, like all of it's already there. They just need to now just read, like, here, boom, here's our redoing of it, right?
Yeah.
I think these are the first ones. But now we're going to throw it back. We're going to take a look back. We're going to look back at the original, not the original XFL, but the original redo of the XFL. When we had the Dallas Renegades, not going to make it. Houston Roughnecks, not going to make it. St. Louis Battlehawks, already there. Seattle Dragons, because it wasn't the Sea Dragons, it was just the Dragons beforehand. Tampa Bay Vipers and the New York Guardians were the two versions. They weirdly moved them around for no reason. The DC Defenders still exist, just remarketing, relogos. And then the LA Wildcats. So it's one of those things where we were talking about with the locations. If you look at a lot of the teams, they're kind of East Coast and then mid-east of the U.S. Not a whole lot of teams out west. So I think that depending on how well the league does within the next couple years for the UFL, that's when you will see the league move west. Until then, though, I think the league stays where it is, kind of.
Yeah, I mean, that's almost everything comes down to money at the end of the day, and the closer you can keep all the teams together, the better it is.
Especially with home fields, every team's playing a home field game. There's no hub teams anymore. Everyone's flying. Everyone's doing their thing. Cuts down on price of that a lot.
Yeah. So, I mean, I get it.
Then we go to the Alliance of American Football. I think this is the one that you didn't really follow. You had the Atlanta Legends, the Birmingham Iron,
the AFL,
this is the AAF.
Yeah, Arizona
Hot Shots.
Yeah, the Hot Shots.
My team,
Yellow Unis. I was all about it.
Yep, my team in the St. Louis Stallions, the Orlando Apollos, the Memphis Express, the San Antonio Commanders, and the San Diego Fleet. Obviously, Birmingham's out. San Antonio probably would be out.
Well, again, interesting. That league actually is the one that had the least amount of success out of all of them.
Yes. And
most of those teams were middle to west.
Yes.
You know? not a lot of East teams there, and it's wild to just see how that one didn't even finish the season.
Yes, and I do. Now I was about to say the C word, because I don't know if I'm still allowed to say it on YouTube or not. I don't think it was during that, but yes, this is one of the years where they ran out of money. It was either they ran out of money or
it was before that they ran out of money.
Yes, it was they ran out of money. They ran out of money, and it was like they just weren't paying people, and then they were just like, all right, we're done.
Yes.
Out of all of
the XFL the first time around.
Yes, that was it. That was
the C word occurred.
Out of all these, though, I think that Arizona, St. Louis, and San Diego are solid opportunities for teams. I would say if we're going to look at like just kind of past things that have happened and where we could see teams going, I think those are solid potential landing spots, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think we can go on to the next part. Because the next part is where I'm going to end up going with this.
Well, so the final one is the funniest of all of them. So we're going to go all the way back to 2011 for the original UFL. 2009 through 2012, actually. You have the California Redwoods, the New York Sentinels, the Florida Tuskers, the Omaha Nighthawks, the Sacramento Mountain Lions, the Virginia Destroyers, the Las Vegas Locomotives, or Locos, and the Hartford Colonials. If you remember, this is the league with Dante Culpepper and Amon Green.
This league has lasted longer than most of them have.
It has. That's the worst part. And this league was the kind of the worst out of all of them, in all honesty. But so there's a look back. There's a fun look back. With this, honestly, Virginia, I think would be kind of cool. No matter what, a California team would be kind of cool. So Sacramento or the Redwoods, like Hartford Colonials, I just kind of like the name of it. It sounds like a good name. And of course,
Connecticut should never get its own team.
They shouldn't, but I like the name. And then the Omaha Nighthawks, obviously, I just like that because, of course, Nebraska boy.
Omaha.
Yeah. Yeah. But so there's the look back at some of the past leagues. But now we're going to talk about where we think potential expansions should happen. Like we said, we kind of hit on a couple of them here, but we do have a couple of our own that we think. So I'll let you kick this off.
Well, again, I don't go based off of what I'd like to see. I go more based off of what is logical.
Okay.
And to me, the most logical one is what is going to make the league money.
Yes.
Right? That's first. And then based off of that, along those lines, okay, if it's going to make money, great. Now, what's going to be what's sustainable?
Mm-hmm.
So, to me, a lot of people sit there and say, oh, you want to go somewhere where there is no football.
Yes.
And to me, that's wrong.
Yes, correct. I agree with that statement.
Now you have to build the entire infrastructure of football in that area.
Mm-hmm.
And then along those lines, then you go, oh, well, you want to go someplace that has a lot of sports. And you go, well, look at the places they just decided not to. Philadelphia has all the major sports. They decided not to put it there. So I don't think you want to go somewhere that has all of the major sports. So you need to have places that have infrastructure in place. So they got some of the sports there.
Yeah.
They can't have all four major sports. And then to me, this is a big one. It cannot be a college town.
Yes, 100%. Because that's one of the reasons why I think Nebraska will never have a pro team.
In my opinion, I think the spring league football, their arch rival is college football.
Yes.
Because the NFL's not sitting there and competing against this effort.
Yeah, no.
If anything, the NFL likes this because they're getting a way to scout players for the future.
Exactly. I mean, wasn't that one of the ones that Belichick said? He said that this benefited a lot of these guys are benefiting because they're trying to make it into the NFL. They just had a full season. They're in shape. They don't need to get back in shape. They're already in shape.
Yeah. Like it's definitely a benefit, but it competes directly with recruiting,
Mm,
spring football practice. So if you're in a college town, that's what they love. They're not
yeah.
going to flip for spring football. It's not happening. Um, so those three criteria. I mean, one of the ones I've always said is I think you model everything off of the success that St. Louis has had.
Yes.
Going to a town that had football and had a good fan base is always a good one.
Mm,
I truthfully, I think you just take the Vegas teams and you put them in Oakland.
yep.
Now you've got your West Coast team. The infrastructure's there. You have a fan base that was really angry that their team left.
Mm-hmm.
So you know they're going to come back. I mean, it's not very expensive to be in Oakland.
Yep.
So
That was gonna be one of the ones I was gonna say was Oakland, and then the other one I was gonna say was San Diego.
I would say you can, I would say don't do both.
Yes.
Because one of the reasons the West Coast is so hard is because taxes out west are so
Oh,
much
yeah.
worse. So that's part of the reason why a lot of these people stay east.
Mm-hmm.
And you notice a lot of them are not northeast.
Yes.
They're all in the southeast where money is
Mm-hmm.
very small.
I think it would be, and this is a we're talking like within the next like maybe 5 years. We're not looking 10 years. We're looking 5. I think within the next 5 years, if they're gonna do expansions, which I think they should. I think if the league does well, they should expand. Right, add one to each. Add one to each. Boom, boom. Right. See how it does. Add one each. See how it does. Add one to, like that sort of thing.
Mhm.
I would love to see one in kind of each area. Like I would love to see a team up here in the Northeast. It's just tough doing that. I would love to see multiple teams out west. It's just tough doing that, right? One of the ones that we've always talked about, and it kind of goes against your criteria a little bit. What we've talked about in the past is the Dakotas. It would be cool to see a team up there.
It would be. But again, you can't do North
It's
Dakota. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, it's like
Like,
it's I like I would love to see an Omaha team again. I'd love to see a team back in Nebraska, but it's never gonna happen because now you're trying to give fans of the Nebraska Cornhuskers who are diehard fans for years and years and years and tradition and years. Now suddenly you're telling them, hey, don't go support them for a little bit and get excited for them. Instead, come and do the new thing with us. It's a tough sell.
it is. That's the thing. It's a really hard sell.
So I think within the next I think that this year the UFL should see how it does. It does well, good. Keep it at 8. If it does well 2 years in a row, then we add a new one. Make it 10 teams now at that point, right?
Yeah.
At least give the league a chance to survive without adding teams. We both agree that they should add a couple more teams. I think 2 more to each division would be solid. Make it 12 teams. I think that'd be kind of cool for right now, right? But we got to give it a chance. We have to let this work, and we have to let this like basically win, and then we can go from there.
Yeah, you have to build sustainable success first before you start spending a crap ton of money on something that you have no idea if it's even sustainable.
Exactly.
Like
So the big thing now is that we have the potential of all year football with the CFL, the UFL, the NFL, and college football, and I think that is a great thing for the sport of football itself. I think that is a great thing.
well, when's our start date? We're a month away. Is
Yep.
that right?
Yep, we're a month.
March 13th. Is that?
And March 30th is when the first games are starting. So I guess a little bit more than a month, but still. So it's one of those things where, NFL season ends, we go right into the UFL, CFL, college football, right? It's all just, and it's just one after another, boom, 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 boom. And it's good. I think this is going to be solid and good for the sport of football. Yeah, it will add more names. It will put more spotlight on players and potential chance for them to be able to get into the league. And that's always the biggest thing, is giving people the chance and the opportunity to play and to be in the league. So that's the big thing. Um, yeah, just imagine that, just all year football, right? It's one of those things where like you won't have to ever think about those posts anymore that you see online that are like, "Hey, football ended, um, football ended, and now we got to figure out when the next when we come back, right?" But yeah, all year football is right here.
Yes. When's the first game?
It's
March
March
30th?
30th.
30th.
Yeah, 30th. There's a
So
little
we
bit,
gotta
of
get a month off.
yeah, which is fine. Build a little hype up. Build a little hype up for the UFL, which I'm all for. Right? We see some of these players, like what we were talking about earlier, AJ McCarron, asking for a release so he can go play for the Battlehawks again for another season. Right? That's the sort of stuff that will help this league tremendously. Is stuff like that.
It's true. It really will. I hope. I just hope that they can don't get weird.
Yes.
Like, don't figure out ways to improve your product, not make your product more clickable.
Exactly.
I mean?
Don't try to make it something completely different than what we kind of know. Make it a good, solid product. So
Yeah,
with that being said,
it could be a great place for even if you're just catching a couple fans that are just trying to view some. Like, again, you can become partners with the NFL and just sit there and be like, "Hey, we're just here so you can test out new rules. You got a new rule you want to test out?
exactly.
Let us know. We'll try it out for a whole season. Let you know how it works.
Yeah,
Let you know how
exactly.
it looks. Let you taste it. Try it on.
Exactly. And then it's
You
one of
don't
those
like
things.
it?
It's the UFL is such a great melting point as well because you have the thing that I liked that the XFL did is the way that Dwayne presented it as the 54th man, right? Like that sort of thing. I thought it was a great way of presenting it. Where it's like it's always like this is a league of people that are like they're the final person to get cut off of a pro roster, and I kind of liked that idea because then you're talking about old vets. They just want to play the game of football still. You're talking about old vets trying to make it back into the NFL. You're talking about busts trying to redeem themselves. You're talking about college players that didn't get a true shot and now are trying to show, like, hey, we can do something. I think that with all of that, that's where, and this kind of goes to the next point of how would you sell this to people that only watch college football or only watch the CFL or only watch the NFL? I think that's the way that you sell this. Is you sell this as kind of what the XFL did to an extent, where it's like this is a league of the people, of the last guy that got cut. This is a league of people trying to make it back. This is a league of people like, you know.
I don't even think you have to really sell it too much like that. You just have to sell it as this is a league of professional football. This is the hard part is you got to sit there and remind people this is professional football.
Yes.
These players are professional football players. They were, and you can even tell them they were all on your favorite teams.
Mm-hmm.
Every one of them was a starter in college. They were all really good players. Like, I think that's part of the hard part is they got to do a better job of marketing out their rosters.
Yes.
And not just highlighting who the big names are, but sit there and be like, hey, this is Scooby Wright. He was a 4-year starter at Arizona.
Yeah. Scooby Wright
leads the NCAA in tackles. Like, they got to do a better job of marketing that stuff and getting people to know who the hell that is and what that means. Like,
yeah, because you get a lot of people that are just like, oh, these are the guys that suck and couldn't make it in the pros. It's like it's not that simple. It's not that it's not just that clear cut, dry. That's what it is. You can't just say that, right? Like these are guys that, like you said, Scooby Wright leads tackles.
There's 1,500 players in the NFL.
That's it.
These are the next best 1,000.
Yes.
Not even. These are the next best 500 because they only have 10 teams, right? Not even. They have 8 teams.
Yeah, they have 8 teams. Yeah.
8 teams, 50-man rosters.
Yeah, I think 75-man rosters.
Yeah, so 500, 600, somewhere. Whatever. I'm not a
Yep.
math guy, but like these are the next best 600 players.
Yeah.
It's that simple. Like,
And it's one of those
and
things like,
some of them were on those NFL rosters,
yep.
so it still might even be the like.
I mean, like you said, guys like DJ Swearinger. DJ Swearinger was a starter in the NFL for multiple years. AJ McCarron, backup and starter. Some of these guys, Jordan Tomu has bounced around multiple teams. A lot of these guys have the experience. It's just that they haven't found that true roster. Like, this is my spot, sort of thing.
Yeah.
But I agree. I think that it would be great if they did a better job of truly showing different things. I don't know how you would go about doing that, though. Maybe like little highlight videos. Maybe, I don't know. But there's not, that has
Maybe
to be
they
a
do,
way.
because again, none of these teams are in our areas, so
Yes.
it's not like if it's not on social media, we have no idea. Like, I don't know, do they actually have commercials or stuff like that? I have no idea.
I mean, other than the
Like
commercials.
on their local news.
Yeah, exactly, right. I was going to say, I've only seen the
Yeah.
commercials that we've been seeing more recently for the UFL.
Yeah, and again, like they got to do a better job of marketing it during the season. Like, don't market it during the NFL. They're right. Don't do that. Like,
Yes.
you want to do it on the Super Bowl and put an ad out there, that's fine. But like,
I think that's what we.
Or during the Pro Bowl, where it'd be really cheap to market something.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think if I remember correctly, you started to see some commercials show up during the playoffs.
But the issue is though, most of their commercials, like, that you're gonna see from this, like, when the season starts, most of those commercials are like during their games. Like,
Yeah.
you're just telling me when the next game is. Just say it. You don't have to put an ad out for that, dude. Show the ad during the news.
Yeah,
Hey,
exactly.
It's spring football, like, but again, you have the money to be able to market at certain times on certain networks. So,
And I mean, we're going to be on ABC, ESPN, Fox, and Fox Sports 1. Those are the channels we're going to be on. So,
yep.
So the big thing, or actually before we get to that, Rob, is there any final things you would want to say about the UFL to the people?
It's a good league. You should give it a chance. It's fun to watch. The offensive line play and QB play takes time. So don't watch the first 2 games and say it sucks. Because the product at the end of the year is much better.
Yes.
And if the league can actually be established, they'll have consistency on rosters and their teams will get better.
I wholeheartedly agree with it all.
Fans
With all that. So, but this is the big thing now. I want you guys to let us know who's your favorite team. Are you excited for the UFL? Who's your favorite team and who's your favorite player? How about that? How about those 3 things? Are you excited? Favorite team, favorite player. For me, it's Hakeem Butler. And Mike Rose. Mike Rose is a linebacker for St. Louis. I'm a St. Louis fan, so.
You don't know Bo and Scooby.
Bo and Scooby, baby. So, thank you all for stopping by and hanging out today. Appreciate it as always. And depending on where you are, morning, afternoon, even night, stay safe. And we'll talk to you all next time. Bye. Very excited, Rob. Let's get it going.